let's go to get into Judge Taney's decision.
And boy, did he. The most infamous line from this opinion, and this is going to be really offensive, describes that at the time the Constitution was written, people of African descent were, and I quote, regarded as beings of an inferior order and altogether unfit to associate with the white race, either in social or political relations, and so far inferior that they had no rights which the white man was bound to respect, and that the Negro might justly and lawfully be reduced to slavery for his benefit. Taney goes on to say that enslaved people were bought and sold and treated as an ordinary article of merchandise in traffic whenever a profit could be made by it. And this opinion was at the time fixed and universal in the civilized portion of the white race. It was regarded as an axiom in morals as well as in politics, which no one thought of disputing or supposed to be open to dispute, and men in every grade and position in society daily and habitually acted upon it in their private pursuits as well as in matters of public concern without doubting for a moment the correctness of this opinion. And Taney could have stopped there and said, nope, not citizens, this case can't go forward. He didn't have to address the constitutional questions of whether enslaved people were property that governments can't take away, or whether Congress had the right to create free states out of the Missouri Compromise. He didn't have to get into that. He didn't have to get to the constitutional questions that were tearing the United States apart at the seams. But he was like, nah, hold my beer. Taney was like, listen, enslaved people are property, and the Fifth Amendment protects against unlawful seizures of property. So any law that deprives an enslaver of his property was therefore unconstitutional. And he said these free states created by Congress through the Missouri Compromise, yeah, also not constitutional, because it goes beyond the powers given to Congress by the Constitution. And in making that decision, Taney soundly closed the door on the federal government's ability to step in on the subject of slavery, leaving it to individual states to determine, which basically set the states at odds with each other, increasing tensions between the North and South, and adding fuel to the fire of the brewing civil unrest, which erupted into civil war 4 years later.
Now, y'all gonna hear that and get mad, irritated, angry, rightfully so. We should, but bring it back towards the present time. Just cause you said it doesn't mean it wasn't happening. You just saying the quiet part out loud. You Black society right now gets mad when they hear people talk like that and say stuff out like that, and you're mad and you're up in arms. Why? Because he said it? Because the act that he is saying is still going on. Just because he said what it is that they're doing should not be the part that pisses you off. Him saying verbatim that the Negro is an inferior and it is for their benefit. We're doing them a favor, making them slaves. And the first, how dare he say that? What you so upset about? They was doing that anyway. So you feel better because he didn't say it out loud? What is the matter with you?
Well, I'll tell you what's wrong with it. And it took me a long time to get here, and I'm still wrestling with it as it comes up from time to time. Hey, Tracy. But the reason why people basically want to be asleep, they literally do. They want the natural way of just about anything in nature is path of least resistance. And if you believe that the obstacles against you are so severe and so massive and so strong that you can't figure out how to affect change, you try to pretend that what's happening simply isn't happening. It's like a survivor's coping mechanism, right? You just try to take yourself somewhere else. And so you pretend it's not happening, or you pretend it's not as bad as it is. Because if you have to look at it, the laws of information say you only have three choices. You can accept it, reject it, or process it. So people get stuck in the reject piece because the other two are very difficult to deal with. And so ever so often, reality intrudes. and it intrudes and it pisses you off all over again because you haven't been looking at it all the time. You haven't been thinking about it. You haven't found your bearings. So every time somebody comes to you with Dred Scott, every time somebody comes to you with like Nat Turner, like we were talking about before, every time somebody brings up Malcolm Martin and the crew, you get mad all over again. You know, and that's why I think that happens, Marlon. I think it's not that they're simple or anything like that. It's they're either lazy or afraid or both. I'm gonna lean more towards lazy or afraid because it's you just don't know what to do with it. So you get mad every single time. And what I ask for people to do is once stay in that, stay in it. You're mad, stay in it. Let that anger sit on you. I know it sounds like the dark side of the force. Let that anger sit on you. Let it draw you further in so that you start saying, what else was going on? And then you start picking up other books and other articles and different videos and talking to different people. And so you can get enough into it that the anger doesn't hurt as much anymore and the anger becomes fuel instead of becoming a suppressant. That's what I would say.